Doesn't matter if I bang that like this, I'm cutting it off anyway. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. And in today's video we are cutting something again. And the reason why we are cutting something today is because we are going to improve this exhaust system. Just a short reminder what it is. This is a Turner Motorsport exhaust system, which replaces the resonator and the muffler on E90, 325, 328 and 51 and 52 engines. I still have the factory catalytic converters, secondaries. This exhaust, like I just said, eliminates the resonator and the muffler on these cars. That creates a really nice sound. The car makes really nice, good noises with this exhaust, but in my opinion it's a little bit too much at some times. It's not always too much, it's not too obnoxious. It's really fine on the interstate, driving about 70 or so miles an hour. It's also fine at lower speeds in certain gears and all. My car is manual, so I can sort of control the sound of the exhaust by shifting the car properly, not with the override of an automatic transmission. Well, let's not go into that discussion. And the first step to improve this exhaust is to install something that is in this box. What it is, it's a Vibrant Performance titanium resonator. This is a 3-inch piping, so this is a 3-inch resonator. This one is a 12-inch long. And I have a suspicion at this point that I really need a longer resonator here. The place we're going to install this resonator at is this straight part of the exhaust section. Realistically, you can fit a 15-inch resonator here. And this is the natural place to install a resonator because this is a straight pipe, first of all, and we already have a clamp right here. This resonator, look at this beauty. This resonator is installed with clamps. So this forward section of the resonator is going to take up the space of that clamp. So it's going to go in like this, somewhat like this. And the back section is going to be another clamp, and that's where we are going to cut this pipe. So we are basically eliminating about 12 inches of this pipe and are replacing this with a resonator. Using titanium in exhaust systems is a controversial affair, but we are not using this type of material for the headers and downpipes, so it shouldn't suffer all those weaknesses that titanium has. This is much lighter than a stainless resonators. This is a slip-on fit basically, and like I said, we are going to use 2 clamps. That kind of adds an extra clamp to this multi-clamp exhaust system already. I don't really like that idea, but I think I can eliminate a couple of clamps by eventually welding up the stainless part of the exhaust. I should stop talking, I should start removing this pipe because I'm not going to cut it while this is on the car. I will get this out. It's fairly easy to remove, and I'm going to be cutting this on my bench. Well, my bench is the garage floor. So let's get to that and start doing something today. Removing this awkwardly positioned clamp first. Like I said in the past, I think I did. I don't really like that type of a clamp. So the next thing to remove is this rubber hanger, and there's another one in the back section of this pipe. So let's get this off and let's get the other one off, and that's pretty much all that I need to do, and this pipe will just slip off. So once we remove this rear section of the exhaust, our new resonator is going to slip on like this. This line represents the rear section installation, where that rear section actually, how far that rear section went on this pipe. This resonator doesn't have to go over the pipe that far. What I'm going to use in this installation is this type of a clamp. So that's, in my opinion, this is a better type of a clamp. What we need to know now is how far we want to slip this resonator over this tube, and this line represents the prior installation. So first thing that we should do, well, we have a couple of options how to install this. We can install it this way with the, I guess, with the nuts pointing down this way. That kind of looks okay. Well, I guess that's the only option, I think, at this point. So we also should do some measurements because we are going to cut that pipe, like I said so many times today already. I'll use this rubber mallet. Well, that's far enough. So now this will slip on, and actually we can just clamp this on, but before I do that I still need to have a measurement from here to that place where I'm going to be cutting, where I would be cutting the pipe. So let's do that measurement and transfer those measurements to the pipe and cut that pipe. That's the whole point of this video. We're cutting the pipe. Yep, this is the garage life when you're on the floor of your garage and not using a proper bench and proper equipment. That's, well, it is what it is. That's how life is. It doesn't really change much. We are still cutting a pipe. We are installing something in these conditions. It's fine to use whatever you have available. Pretend that I'm doing something. So according to my measurements, we have to cut about 28 centimeters of this pipe in 280 millimeters or 11 inches. Mark this properly so we have a good cutting line. No one is going to see it ever, and I'm using a totally improper measuring device, but this works. And since I was talking about doing a removal of a clamp or two, this is the clamp that I'm thinking about removing, because I can just weld this up. I'm not 100% sure if that's a good idea at this point, because this titanium resonator is step 1, because I don't know if that's good enough or it's going to produce the sound that I'm looking for. So if that is not going to produce a sound I'm looking for, then there is a hanger here. And this is another straight section. Also, there's another straight section of this piping, and those are two places, two candidates for further improvements of the sound. This is another improvement that I already finished. This is a different clamp from the clamp that was here. That clamp that was used here was exactly like this. That's pretty much the clamps that this system, this manufacturer is using. These are the clamps. I don't like them, like I said, because they require this type of well, they require these slits to be cut in two, and it's a slip-on fit, these slits, so that clamp is basically collapsing this part of a pipe over the part that slips in, and like as you can see, this is not much of a slit to really collapse this pipe properly. So these are all the negatives of this manufacturing that I came across. I guess I'm sharing this because this is important to collapse this properly with this type of a clamp. You really have to have these slits to be longer than the clamp itself, because you cannot really collapse a solid tube. And like as you can see, these slits are barely more, well, they're actually less, at least that part, they're much shorter than the clamp itself. And this is the section actually where I had to cut these slits myself, because, well, manufacturing defects, this came without anything being cut into this part. So I had to cut those in myself, and I made them longer than the clamp. And that improved the situation. Well, that made it possible to be installed actually, because without having those slits, you cannot really collapse this piping with the clamp like that, and it's just not going to do anything. But like I said, this is not really a good installation anyway. The proper way of doing the exhaust is using something like this. So these clamps are, you can have two types of these clamps. This is a stepped transition, and the other one is basically a butt type of a joint. So you just cut your pipe wherever you want. You just butt joint those two pieces without any slip on, and you install a clamp like this. This one, and you can see that this is a larger diameter here that goes over this piping, and that clamp takes care of all this. And this is super tight, a super tight fitment, and there is no gas leakage, there is no condensation, dripping, nothing like that. This is the proper way of doing it. Actually, I don't think I'm going to show any cutting, because, well, this is the tool that I'm going to be using. I marked everything up. It's just going to go through this. This cutoff wheel will go through this. I will clean this all up, and you have already seen this tool in action in one of my other videos where I'm cutting sway bars. So this is the tool of choice works fairly well on cutting things like this, and like I said, there's no point to in showing the thing being used. So let me just cut this and we'll move on to the next step of this upgrade. So the resonator is already installed in place. I pre-torqued that clamp so it doesn't move around too much. I don't need it to move around. So the pipe has been cut to the proper lengths, I hope. The next thing to do is to have this clamp to slip on like this. And the next thing to do is to actually have this part to slip in like this. The only problem at this point is I have to fight this hanger. Yeah, it's always a fight. So I have to replace these. Oh, come on. So this still has enough of freedom. Oh wow, this just goes in and out. The beauty of this clamp is that it allows us to have the length adjusted. So it seems like everything is in place, more or less this. And at this point, all the adjustability is being done due to this movement. And I think that will actually go away once we make this tight. So this clamp uses, there's something in the bag. What's in the bag? And what is in the bag is this bar that goes down due to the gravity being at work. So this goes on like this, like so, and then you have two nuts. And that's basically how these clamps work. So the only complaint here is that these bolts are way too long. I mean, they don't have to be that long if they're 10 millimeters longer than... well, it's always easy to cut those. If this all works, I'll probably just finalize the installation. So what we need to do next, line this up like so, and make these bolts, these nuts actually, more or less semi-tight. We'll have to check the fitment of, what do we have to check the fitment of? Yeah, the rotation. Right. So the rotation of this is important. Well, basically there isn't a whole lot of things to show here. So at this point, I'm almost done with the installation. All that is left is to make this clamp tight. Well, I need to do a few small minor adjustments for the fitment, because this thing rotates and slides in and out. So let me figure that out, what position it should be, and I'll make this tight. And that's pretty much all for this video. I mean, there isn't a whole lot of more to show, because I mean, there isn't really. So in a nutshell, yes, we went back to a resonator because that's the place where the factory resonator was. This exhaust without the resonator is probably just fine if you take your car to a racetrack, but to drive this on streets, it's a little bit too much, in my opinion, a little bit too much noise. And well, it's nice. It's a nice sound, and a lot of people go like, "Wow, just listen to that." Well, I think this was my brother. He said that it sounds like a V8 with this exhaust. That inline 6 and 52 sounds like a V8 with this exhaust. But the resonator, yes, we have a resonator now again, and it's not going to change the sound dramatically from my experience. It will do a minor adjustment to the sound, and we will have to actually go for a test drive and listen to this exhaust making sounds. I guess that's the next thing after I finalize the clamps and everything. So, and I will see you in that episode where we go for a test drive. So stay tuned, subscribe, like, dislike, thumbs up, thumbs down, and I will see you soon.
Bye.